Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
She says that to everybody.
She does. She didn't say it to me.
How are you?
Really good, man. That was pretty good, eh?
Yeah, this one looks, well, I gotta ask you right off the bat. Tell us a little bit about working with Bruce. I mean, that's gotta be...
He's Bruce fucking Willis. What else do you want to say?
That's pretty cool.
I mean, I remember watching his movies when I was a kid, you know, and all throughout. And to play a character that's based on him, it was a trip, man. What I love most about acting is becoming somebody else. And this is, I think, the most transformative I've ever had the opportunity to be in a role, both because of the makeup, and it was like 3 hours every morning of makeup, and but also just because it was so closely based on another person that I wanted to match, and it's not an impersonation, but it's definitely a character based on Bruce, and so you know, I got to know him. I got to know him pretty well. We would hang out a lot. And then, of course, I would just watch his movies a lot. I'd strip the audio out of the movies and put him on my iPod so I could listen to his voice over and over again and just find that character.
Wow. Did you find yourself appreciating a particular Bruce Willis performance that maybe meant more to you now than the first time you saw it?
Yeah, you know, the one I sort of fixated on the most was Sin City, actually, yeah. I wanted to find something current. I mean, he's done so many great movies over the years. And it's interesting, some people actually earlier today were asking me if I focused on him when he was younger, like in Moonlighting, but that didn't make as much sense because I wanted to match what he is now. You know, the point wasn't to be intratextual with Moonlighting. The point was, you know, to do a performance where you could see in watching the movie, oh yeah, that's the older guy and that's the younger guy, and they're the same one.
Yeah. Is that the first time the 3 words intratextual with Moonlighting?
Yeah.
Probably not, actually. A good show.
You know, every filmmaker, actor relationship is different and interesting to hear about. Tell us a little bit, both of you, about working together.
Well, we made the first movie that I did, Brick, together, and we stayed great friends since then.
Let's hear something more for Brick. Come on.
We started with that.
I heard it. I wanted it again.
And yeah, I mean, we all know Joe's just an incredibly talented actor, but he's also just one of my favorite guys in the world, and we just stayed really tight friends since then. I've just been dying for a chance to work with him again. And so I wrote this script with him in mind. I really wrote it around him. And
now, that's the first time that's ever happened to me, that a writer wrote something for me to play. And that was a real honor and meant a lot to me.
And you know, we had just an amazing. It was incredible what you guys got to see a little bit in the teaser trailer. How Joe really became Bruce, or he didn't become Bruce. He created a character who you could imagine could be a younger Bruce. And between the makeup and the performance, it was just amazing to see a friend of yours transform themselves that much and do the kind of this high wire act of performing. It was really cool to get to watch.
That's great. And then tell us a little bit about the shoot. Did you guys shoot in New Orleans, or?
We're in New Orleans, and then we were in China for 2 weeks.
Those aren't near each other.
No, not. You can't get there by train. Yeah, it was mostly in New Orleans.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you said that this is a story that you had at least the core of in your mind for a good long time. Did you find that it changed a lot? Was it pretty slippery, or was it really just sort of filling in the mortar between the bricks you already had?
It was pretty solid. I mean, because it's a time travel movie, it's a really tricky thing writing a time travel. I don't know how many of the people in the audience are probably writers who have tried their hand at time travel writing. It's really figuring out how to deal with time travel. It's kind of like the Iron Chef ingredient that trips everybody up, you know. You must cook with sod, you know. It's like the thing that how do you incorporate it in without it taking over the movie to such a degree that you have to sit there for half an hour and explain the intricacies of what you're doing.
Sure.
So So no, the big challenge was just kind of figuring out how to deal with it, you know.
Yeah, and Joseph, I mean, this is such an amazing time for you. Congratulations, man. There's so many great things in a row that are really impressive. The last time I saw you, I think, was on the set of that movie that we cannot mention, because Chris Nolan might show up. But what's for you right now? I'm curious. What do you consider the biggest challenge you have right now, and what do you see as your biggest opportunity these days?
I'm just grateful, man. I've been working as an actor for 25 years now. I started when I was 6, and I just turned 31. Sure, yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah.
And it's been a gradual progression, and it's gotten to the point now where I'm getting to work on movies that I love, that I would go see anyway. And the most important thing is getting to work with people that I love.
Yeah.
Both personally and I love their work. I mean, I loved The Brothers Bloom, which I wasn't in as much as I loved Brick, which I was in, and getting to work with guys like Ryan or like Chris, or you know, I finished the year working for Steven Spielberg, and those 3 directors actually have quite a lot in common. And I think when all is said and done, they will talk about him in very much the same way that they do talk about Chris and Steve.
Outstanding. And then, Ryan, good luck with that.
Well, no, they have a lot in common in that Chris and Steven and Ryan all do it for the same reason, because they fucking love movies.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately uncommon in our movie industry. Most people do it with money at the finish line. You know, they do it with money on the mind, and any given decision that they make is, well, how can we maximize the box office here? And it doesn't always lead to the best movies. In fact, it rarely does. And you know, so like Chris always says, I just want to make a movie that I would want to go see. And I think Steven too, you know, I worked on this movie, Lincoln. He was so excited every day. I mean, it was like watching a kid. He really has a child spirit. There's a reason why kids in Spielberg movies are always feel so real, and he captures that essence so well. He feels like that. He really feels like a guy having fun playing,
sure,
making movies. And the set of Looper was actually very similar. And Ryan does it for all those same reasons, for the love of making movies. And you know, me, I do it for that reason too, because I made my money on a sitcom, you know, so I don't have to. I'm lucky enough. I don't have to support myself because I'm still cashing the Third Rock checks. So I get I'm lucky enough that I get to choose jobs because I love doing them.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's fortunate to get to work with filmmakers who feel the same way.
So we're going to take some questions from the audience here in a second. I'd remind you that questions do end in a question mark. So no proposals or pitches or threats. Yeah, I've heard it. It all comes.
All right.
You know, when we were watching the trailer, you mentioned that you know, obviously Brick was a noir, and this is a science fiction film, but this feels, it has some noir aspects to it as well, like a DOA kind of thing, where like you know, chasing your future self is kind of like running out of time.
Yeah, it's got those elements. It's got a lot of different elements in it, and that's I don't know. We were talking earlier about. I mean, this is the first time I've worked on a movie where, you know, where part of the fun of it is where I get to engage with, you know, a room full of everybody like you guys here, and think about how much do we want to give away about the movie, you know. And part of the fun of the movie is the way that I think it surprises you, and the way that you know, it's got a lot of different things in it. It turns into a lot of different types of things, and part of the fun of the movie is kind of figuring out what the movie is. And so I know as a moviegoer, I'm tempted to kind of click on every single news story I see, and then I immediately regret it when I go to see the movie and wish I knew nothing about it. So figuring out that push and pull, it's all very new to me in terms of what you tell, you know, and what you don't. 'Cause you want to tell everything.
Yeah, but you still want Christmas morning.
We do want Christmas morning.
That's great. Okay, we'll turn over to the fans, but for